Hello my dear students, welcome to this presentation. In this lecture, I will discuss the nomenclature of the QRS complex. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to understand the QRS complex and define the components of the QRS complex. I am going to discuss following outlines. Introduction, factors deciding the nomenclature of QRS complex. First one, direction of the deflection. Second one, position of the deflection within the complex. Third one, amplitude of the QRS complex. Introduction. The QRS complex is the combination of three of the graphical deflections seen on a typical electrocardiogram. The QRS complex represents depolarization of the ventricular muscle. It corresponds to the depolarization of the right and left ventricles. QRS complex occasionally contains one or more than one deflections. The appearance of the QRS complex vary from lead to lead. Now, we'll check what are the factors deciding the nomenclature of the QRS complex. First one, direction of the complex. Positive deflection. A positive deflection means a deflection which is above the isoelectric line. The first positive deflection in the QRS complex is called R wave. If the entire QRS complex is positive, it's named as R wave. Negative deflection. A negative deflection means a deflection which is below the isoelectric line. The first negative deflection preceding R wave is called Q wave. If the ventricular complex is entirely negative, the complex termed as QS wave. A negative deflection following R wave is termed S wave. The second factor is position of the deflection within the complex. The QRS complex sometimes contains more than 2 or 3 waves. In such cases, the extra waves are called R prime or S prime waves. If there are more than one R wave, the second is called R prime wave. If there are more than one S wave, the second is called S prime wave. Third factor is amplitude of the QRS complex. Notice that the capital letters are used to designate waves of relatively large amplitude. The simple letters are used to designate waves of relatively small amplitudes. The components of the QRS complex can be summarized as follows. The R wave is any positive deflection of the QRS. If there are more than one R wave, the second is denoted as R prime wave. A negative deflection preceding a R wave is termed Q wave. A negative deflection following R wave is termed S wave. If the ventricular complex is entirely negative, the complex termed as QS wave. If the entire QRS positive is named as R wave. Capital letters are used to Designate relatively waves of large amplitude, and simple letters are used to label relatively small amplitude. Now, small exercise on what we have discussed. Complete the exercise and send it in an email. That is end of my session. Thank you very much.